All right, so the number one question that almost every restaurant operator in the land is asking today is, when are guests coming back? And today we're going to try to address that topic along with some other events that have been happening here recently with an expert that I think you guys are going to love. My name is Paul Barron, and this is the Barron Report. All right, so operators are looking at reopening, or maybe not. We've got some cities now that are changing. We're going to talk a little bit about that. I've got the founder of Blau Associates, which is Elizabeth Blau. Great to have you on the show today.
Thank you, Paul. Really great to be here.
Yeah. I had a chance to, we had a chance to hear the network when we were doing one of our shows there in Las Vegas, got a chance to come out and see your operations there at Honey Salt. Amazing restaurant, still one of my favorites in the country. So glad you guys are still rocking and rolling there for sure. Tell me a little bit about your organization. It looks like you have grown some. Tell me kind of where you guys stand today.
Sure. Our company is interesting because we're rooted in restaurant operations. So we have Honey Salt and Buddy V's. So we have our partnership with Buddy Velasquez, the cake boss at the Venetian Hotel here in Las Vegas. And then we have 5 restaurant operations in Vancouver, Canada at the Park Casino. So the JW Marriott, the Douglas, which is part of the Autograph Collection. And we can only look at those restaurants across the border because the border is closed, and it would require a 14-day quarantine. So to sit in the hotel room for 14 days doesn't really make any logistic sense. So luckily we have a great team. And then our consulting projects, which we work on hospitality initiatives around the world, from Saudi Arabia to South Korea, Europe. Many of those are on hold, but we have some extraordinary clients and projects that are, 2022 and beyond. And so, most of those projects are proceeding as normal, but, there's certainly a lot of exciting projects that we were working on that have all put on, indefinite hold until some sort of normalcy.
No kidding. Listen, the number of operators that we've talked to here on this show has been staggering, and just the stories that we continue to hear. Elizabeth, I want to talk a little about how you guys dealt with the pandemic. Las Vegas, one of the most hit restaurant cities in America, with what had to happen there in Vegas. Kind of talk to me about what the process was for you to at least get back to an open state there with some of your operations in Vegas.
I think that Las Vegas as a case study is, one of the hardest hit cities because, when the pandemic, first hit here, all of the casino hotels shut down at 100%. Right. And so you're talking hundreds of thousands of hospitality positions, just vanished overnight. We were very fortunate in Las Vegas on the local side because, while the world shut down, we were still able to do takeout, delivery. Of course, we created a marketplace. And when we did reopen, we were allowed at 50% occupancy inside and outside. Because if you think about it, we reopened into summer, and at 115 degrees, nobody is eating outside in Las Vegas. So, our numbers have been up and down. We were very low at the onset. We spiked over the summer, and I think we're on that red list, yet again. But I think we're managing things, and, with Honey Salt, it's a local farm-to-table restaurant. We sprung into action knowing that with all of the people out of work in the city and the food banks having to reorganize, our school system shut down. So hundreds of thousands of children who get their breakfast and subsidized or free lunches not having access to food. And so we partnered with 4 other local restaurants and started a program called Delivering with Dignity. And I think this month we will have gotten about 200,000 meals out to the community. So I think there's a trust factor. There's a trust factor about the safety concerns and procedures that we have in place. It's that fine line between, not wanting your marquee to be like, we sanitize, because, we have the Clark County Health Department. We are always at, the highest levels of sanitary precaution, but, obviously masks and, at one point gloves. The kitchen still wears gloves. The front of house doesn't wear gloves. But Paul, I feel like the rules, the advice, things are changing. I could give you some advice today, and tomorrow we would both, be seeing, that things are completely different. And as you said in your introduction, I mean, cities are just shutting down. It's terrifying. It truly is terrifying to watch.
When you look at the industry, because you've been around this industry you're considered a veteran and obviously great success. And operators, I think when I talk to many of the operators that maybe have been in business less than 10 years, they did not see what happened in 2007 and 8 when we see a pretty hard hit to the restaurant industry. And then some great opportunity kind of flourished right after that. Your thoughts on where you think the industry will stand in, say, the next 24 months? If 2021, which some pundits now are writing off 2021 due to the fact that we could not see a vaccine really active and fully tested out and vetted in our society, which will have effect on these, centralized gathering places such as events, restaurants, Las Vegas, et cetera. What are your thoughts on where we will be in the next 24 months?
Here in Las Vegas, we have, we've seen 2 economic crashes. We had horrifying, massacre. We've been hit as a city, 9/11 on so many occasions, but this is truly unprecedented. This is unprecedented in our lifetime. So I don't think if you've been in business for 5 years or 25 years that anyone could have expected or predicted. And we are all in survival mode. I mean, absolute, bare bones survival mode. I mean, I'm thrilled that, there are restaurant operations like the Chick-fil-A's and the In-N-Out Burgers of the world, the Pizza Huts and the Domino's that are geared for this kind of thing. So, like Walmart and Amazon, there are companies that, that are thriving in this situation, but not in the restaurant industry. I mean, we are bare knuckled, just trying to keep lights on, keeping people employed. Nobody's thinking about profitability. And what's really tough, Paul, is that, for the most part, we don't have landlords working with us. We have landlords who have expectation at paying 100% rent. We have business interruption insurance that we've paid in for years and years with absolutely, no interest in, in examining compensating us. So, at some point, something's got to give. I mean, somebody's got to support. We employ over 16 million people in the independent restaurant industry. That's far more than the airline industry and some of the other industries that have gotten bailouts. Oh, there's my husband wanting to pop into into the screen.
Tell him I said hi.
Morning, everyone.
So it's really, I don't see, especially for a city like Las Vegas, where we survive on weekend business. We survive on air travel, which obviously has come to a standstill, and also convention business is what fills our hundreds of thousands of rooms midweek. And when is anybody planning a convention of 10 to 15,000 people? So. I'm a very optimistic person, Paul, but I got to say that the future is not looking good unless we can get beyond this absurd political situation and start focusing on helping Americans that need help, and especially us in the independent restaurant industry.
Yeah, for sure. I've had a conversation with Andrew Zimmern this week, just an earlier episode, and he said something that I want to get your opinion on this. He said something that really struck home with me. I had not heard these numbers before from any real expert that analyzes and understands this industry as close as you and Andrew do. But he is concerned about the Restaurant Act. If it does not pass and we don't see real relief going to the restaurant operators across America, that we could see, in his own words, I believe it was a catastrophe event that essentially would shut down maybe close to 80% of the restaurants in America. Are you thinking that it could go that far?
Without a doubt.
Okay.
Restaurants, I mean, as sure as Andrew told you that, we work on razor thin margins. And so when you
Yeah.
reduce our capacity to 50%, or some cities 25%, that's not 25 or 50% of the profitability. That's likely all of the profitability. And for most
Exactly.
restaurants, I don't even see how you can, even operate at 25% capacity. And in most states that are shutting down and are limiting this kind of capacity, the weather has turned, and so they're in winter. And so this
Yep.
idea of outdoor dining was great in the summer, but that's going to evaporate with the first frost. Nobody is going to eat outside, and you just simply can't make up the numbers with takeout and delivery. So whether it's the Restaurants Act, whether whichever administration prevails in November, but selfishly, we have gotten a lot of traction with the Restaurant Act. We have a lot of bipartisan support for it, but if you look at the list of industries that have been, devastated by this pandemic, honestly, we have to line up with a lot of, other, industries. And so, whether it's too narrow in focus, but, I can tell you that for the 3 months during the pandemic, whether you took the EIDL or the PPP, that saved us. I mean, we would be having a very different conversation right now for my businesses if we didn't get that boost, during the shutdown. So I have to believe that once we can, get through this election, that the politicians are going to focus again on what's important. And so, don't get me started on my views of campaign reform and so many other things. But we have become a political casualty, as have many other industries.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Well, and I think I'm sure most everyone out there that really understands hospitality and the connection to tourism and travel, and as you mentioned, the event industry, which has taken a massive, slash.
Concerts, theater.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And if you look at New York, let's talk about some of the cities that are, because here we are, end of October, when this is being filmed, if you guys are watching this in the future. And what's happening right now is we have Chicago, which is regressing back down to 0 indoor dining. And this will be as of October 30th. New York is now moving into the winter months, and already was hamstrung with the percentage that they could have. So they're going to have limited access with indoor dining. Denver is now regressing back down to 25% indoor dining. At some point, there is a kind of a point of no return for operators. And many of the operators that I keep talking to, many of them talk that end of Q1 is kind of the go or no-go time if we don't see real activity from government.
Without a doubt. And this devastating effect of opening and closing and people going on unemployment and then asking them to come back to work. I mean, there's a point where people just say, forget it. This is not worth it.
Industries.
We're not, the glamour job industry. There's a lot of jobs in the restaurant industry that are, that are low wages, are very long hours and hard work. Ours is an industry of, people who are passionate about, what they do. There's, families, immigrant families who, have put their life savings into, some of their operations. We've cut, to, the bone in terms of, management and hours and limiting menus and, whatever we possibly do. But, as you said, something is going to give, and it's going to give soon. And that's why, you read these restaurant obituaries, literally every day. Some of our favorite restaurants in major cities just closing their doors forever. And that's a travesty. And it's through no fault of our own. And so why can't we focus support? Political agencies want to target us as, oh my goodness, restaurants, have to close because of, of COVID. Well, you're not closing, offices, you're not closing, supermarkets and other businesses. So if you're going to impose those type of closures because you truly believe that's going to, kind of curb the crisis, then, you gotta, lend a hand. And so I just think it's unconscionable,
Yeah.
what we're seeing, happening around the city. I mean, some of the restaurants are, some of the safest places. We have 6 feet in tables. We have social distancing. We're wearing masks. As I say, the back of house is wearing gloves. I don't understand how, we have been, so demonized. It
Yeah.
seems ridiculous.
Well, and you're right, because there has been continued effort by even the CDC, which continues to pour out data on the restaurant industry as being one of the kind of super spreader areas. And I don't know necessarily, and we continue to research this to find out where the data is coming from and how they're determining these kinds of things. So that's the biggest challenge that I don't think has been explained to a
No.
lot of business owners and operators. Which is with random openings, like you had mentioned, with retail and other aspects of, but it seems like hospitality, travel, tourism has been on the forefront of the closures and obviously the event business. Let's talk, this kind of segues into how this effect is going to have a long-term effect on consumers. So this is another question that I love to get different feedbacks on, because I'm getting a few different answers, and it's interesting to try to put these together for future understanding of how we deal with this. But consumers could have a long-term effect, psychological, as well as just habitual, meaning I've just changed my habits of how I'm dining out or eating food, whether maybe it's more takeout. Where do you think this is going to lead in terms of consumer habits in the future?
I think in the short and the midterm, it's going to have, huge effects. We were, completely shut down for indoor dining during Mother's Day, and we had one of our highest volume Mother's Day sales in takeout meal kits,
Right.
than we've ever had. I think probably every mother in America was sick of cooking for everybody at home. So, we all got a break, except me on that day. But I think that, traveling and getting on a plane over busy holidays, going to, big gatherings on New Year's Eve, or having to, dine with, hundreds of other people on Valentine's Day. I think,
Yeah.
people are going to, to really, kind of second guess, like, should we take out? Should we eat at home?
Right. Right.
And I think that's going to definitely prevail through 2021, and it's certainly going to prevail, for our parents, anybody who is of of a certain age, anybody who has any health issues. I don't think those people are going to to feel comfortable to go out, and I can tell you that friends who who have lived through this first phase in New York City, I mean, they've got shock. They're afraid to travel. I mean, and wouldn't you be if you had mortuary trucks, pulled outside your house on Park Avenue, or some of the main thoroughfares? What happened with the rioting and the looting, and having to burning down cities. I mean, how many cops were shot in the last few days in Philadelphia? I mean, it's like it's just piling on, to an already desperate situation.
Yeah. Well, hopefully our country is going to get some reprieve of this in the near future, and we can kind of get moving in the right direction. But I do think the long-term effect on consumers is going to be one that could last maybe in upwards of a decade, is what many psychologists are saying now. Just in the impact
That's depressing.
yeah. Well, if you think about the people, I talk to a lot of business people, and their travel schedules, which these were road warriors before, and they
I was
literally
one of them.
have kind of picked out maybe one or two things that they're planning to do in 2021, and that's kind of it. They might had in the past have taken 20, 30, 40 trips a year, and they're now narrowing that down to 2.
I think we've
which to
gotten
me,
more effective with our meetings and
Yeah.
our Zoom calls, I think you're going to have a long-lasting impact on the real estate market,
Yeah.
in the office, building space, which does also affect
Yep.
restaurants. But I agree with you. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, we've had several. We'll have to check out some of our other videos on that very topic, where shifts in real estate pattern could be changing where restaurants start to open in the future, which is a big factor. Last question for you here, Elizabeth. Thank you so much again for your time. But is when you look at kind of moving to this next step next year, 2021 is going to be a key step for the entire restaurant industry if they are going to make it financially. Are there any things that, other than the EIDL loan or the PPP money, are there any things that you guys are trying to consider to deal with the financial struggles that could hit in case the Restaurant Act does not come through and we see a relief?
We're squirreling away anything we are making. That's for sure. Fortunately, in our state has allowed us to do to add liquor and alcohol delivery. So we're
Right.
trying to create promotions around that. We're doing live cooking demos where you can pick up cooking kits at the restaurant. Many companies are looking into delivery services like Goldbelly.
Right.
But we're trying to stand on our heads and be marketing acrobats. We're starting TikTok and, obviously, all of the regular Facebook and Instagram and using all of those venues to really get the word out of what we're doing. We have monthly farm table dinners, but, really just, I'm definitely seeing that people want to get out. They want to, safely congregate. They want to celebrate. When you look around, our country, whether it's, Mardi Gras or St. Patrick's Day, we're a country that likes to gather, college football games, professional sports. People are really missing those kind of things. So we're trying to create, destination events, with 80 to 100 people that can provide people with some kind of fun and just kind of relief from the tremendous stress and pressure that has put people on people in every industry.
Yeah, well, I think those are all very good ideas and definitely something that operators should be implementing. We've talked to many people. That's good that you guys are going kind of on a gambit across all aspects of trying to move away from the four walls, so to speak. What is the current state of the economic condition there in Vegas as of right now? Are hotels about half open? What are you seeing there on the street?
So basically on weekends, we'll get up to about 70 to 80% occupancy on the Strip, but weekdays it could get down to to 10, 20%. So the Wynn has closed their Encore Tower. The Venetian has closed the Palazzo Tower, on those, for 3 days, 4 days midweek. Some of the hotels, like the Palms, after that, $1 billion renovation, haven't even reopened. Buffets are a thing of the past in Las Vegas. And so, you can still come here and, and really enjoy yourself. Our nightclubs have repositioned, even our pools and our day clubs have repositioned. So it's a new Las Vegas, and it's, maybe it's a little tamer, but, you can still, enjoy yourself. And, as I said, our restaurants are at 50% occupancy, and luckily we have a lot of space in them. So it doesn't feel awkward. And you can still get a lot of great food here.
Yeah, excellent. Elizabeth, thank you so much for stopping in today. Elizabeth Blau with Blau Associates.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so you guys are maybe listening in over on Spotify or on iTunes, maybe over on Amazon Music now if you're listening to the podcast version here of the Barron Report. Make sure and leave us a rating. That's how we get your feedback. It's also how we understand what you want to listen to or watch here on the Barron Report. If you're over on YouTube, make sure and smash the like button and also share this video, because I think that's another factor as we see more and more use of video and what we are seeing kind of the new normal of how we consume content. The best way is to share the content out to other colleagues that maybe you know. Hopefully some of these insights from operators around the country might be able to help some of you maybe save your own business today. We'll continue to cover right here on the Barron Report. We'll catch you next time right here on the Barron Report.